I've talked to Roy about this many times. General managers, to me, general managers are baseball people, but they're really a high-stake gambler. They're a guy at a crap table, but it's a baseball field.
That's right.
Dice, and they're playing, they're moving.
That's
stuff
exactly
around.
right. They are a high-stakes gambler.
Yeah, and so my question though is there a little bit of, are you a little bit nervous?
Damn right.
Are you a little bit whatever when you become an owner and you're trying to decide who you're going to give your hand to and who's going to run, take care of these baseball decisions, and it's a lot going on. And if you're a fan, obviously you were not in a position where you thought, no, I'm going to be an owner and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
You've got to turn things over to baseball people.
Absolutely.
Is that scary? Or
Well,
is it just you accept it, it's going to be part of the deal, you're going to go
I
forward,
wanted to
don't look back.
I wanted to turn it over to the baseball people. It wasn't my job to try to figure out who ought to play on the Giants.
Right.
But we didn't have a general manager at that time. Al was leaving, and we wanted a new start, but we hadn't yet figured out who was going to be the manager, the manager of the team, and who was going to be the general manager. So when the Bonds thing came up, we were without a general manager. That's the only contract I ever negotiated in my life, was that first contract with Barry. We then found a general manager in Bob Quinn, who had won the World Series with the Reds, 4-0 sweep, and certainly his family had been in baseball, his father and his grandfather. So once that happened, I could get out of the baseball decision making. Not that it wasn't, consulted, but I did not want to do that. I wanted to surround myself with good people and let them have the responsibility. If they're going to make the decisions, you have to give them the responsibility. Almost always, you have the general manager hire the manager, but we didn't yet have the general manager, and yet we had an opportunity to hire the manager, which we hired, and we hired Dusty Baker. And I got a lot of advice from a lot of people. Whatever you do, now that you're newly in baseball and know nothing about how baseball is organized, hire an experienced manager. Right. So we hired somebody who had never managed before. And first year, he won 103 games and was manager of the year. And he was 3-time manager of the year.
Yeah.
So you talk about this being a gambler type of business. It is, because Dusty Baker could have failed. Bob Quinn could have failed. I could have failed. But you got to make decisions. You can't just sit back and say, okay, I'm going to make one decision this year and I know it's going to be the right one. You got to make maybe 10 a day and hope that most of them are right.
Right.
And some of them aren't going to be right. I made my mistakes. Okay. So, nobody's infallible, but you got to stick your neck out. I think Bob was there for about 4 at least. And we got Brian at Bob's recommendation from the Yankees. It annoyed George Steinbrenner no end.
Do you now believe, with all your experience, that a lot of the general managers that have scouting backgrounds are kind of the way to go?
Yes, I do. And, Brian had a terrific record with the Yankees. He found Jeter and Bernie Williams and I think Rivera and Posada. A lot of these guys were found when he was the director of farm operations, scouting operations for the Yankees. Yes. So he had an impeccable record. It took us a while to be able to put the emphasis on that because of the Barry Bonds contract. We were trying to win quickly, and our emphasis was on building the Giants at the major league level as fast as we could by acquiring free agents and doing these things. And I have to say, I think that philosophy worked between the years 1993 and 2004. We had the 3rd best record in baseball. Only the Yankees and the Braves were better than the Giants were over that long period of time. But we did not do as good a job as we should have done developing our own players. And it wasn't Brian's fault. The emphasis was on the Major League team, but we eventually decided that we'd put too much emphasis on the Major League team, and it was going to hurt the team for the future. And I said, we all make mistakes. That was one of mine, that we did not put that emphasis on until later. But we eventually did do it later. And you look at this ball club now, it's won 2 World Series.
John Barr came in and straightened the scouting situation.
And we drafted really great players like Posey and Bumgarner and Lincecum, right? All these guys, Crawford, lots of good young players that should keep the Giants competitive.